Now, this is around the time when we all settle in halfway through the run chase, have a little conversation on Cricbuzz Combox, and then wait for the match to finish. Well, Simon Doull didn't really feel up to doing Cricbuzz Combox today, so he put the mockers on the bowling side or the batting side, whichever you want to look at it, and we've had an early finish. Inside 10 overs, run chase done and dusted, so it's time to say welcome to Cricbuzz Live, brought to you in association with our fantasy partner, My 11 Circle, to bring you this 92 all-out plays, 94 for 1 in 10 overs. It was a demolition from the men in purple, sort of turning the tables on what happened at the same venue about a year ago. We'll try and see what that's done to the table, what that's done to the net run rate for Bangalore. But for the moment, let's get reactions from Simon Doull and Harsha Bhogle. Actually, I'll start with Simon. 58 in the power play. How good was that?
Sorry, Harsha, I'm waiting for
As promised.
Thank you, Harsha. Yeah, very good. No, I just had a feeling after, and we talked about it a lot in the first edition, didn't we? The first half, that Brendan McCullum was really disappointed about the attitude of their top order and about the way they were going about it. He said, he openly said, we give them freedom. We will not chastise them. We will not berate them if they get out being aggressive and playing shots. So this is the sort of team he wants. The sort of player he wants is Venkatesh Iyer. He wants Shubman Gill to be more aggressive. He feels that they have protection in Morgan, in Russell, in DK at 5, 6, 7 at the moment, that those guys can free the spirits, free themselves, and just be aggressive at the top. So finally, I think that message is getting through. 29 from 22, 48 from 34. To me, that is what this Kolkata team are all about. That's what they need to be doing more of. And, he has a saying, Brendan McCullum, and you'll have to sort of roll with me here, but he says, if you can't change the man, change the man. So basically, if you can't change what the person is doing, then pick another person to do the job. It's a very simple philosophy, and he's changed the man tonight. He's got a new guy at the top, and and it started very well for them. So, yep, I had a feeling. Very rarely in this business do our feelings come true, but tonight they did. So I'll accept your applause. Thank you very much.
These Kiwis, Gautam, they are a bit like the Parsis. You think there's very few of them, and yet they're all over. I mean, look at the number of them in this tournament. And there's one sitting here as well, I'm waiting to meet this Iyer guy, Venkatesh Iyer. I know he's from Indore, from MP, whatever. I had rasam in my dinner today. And I said the leftover rasam, I'll just put it on the rice to add to the taste. And he hits 3/4 of the last over. It's lying there and getting cold. So I'm going to tell Iyer, you might be an Iyer from somewhere else, but allow me to have my rasam.
But other than ruining your dinner,
fantastic.
Harsha, he's tall. He would not quite getting into that PTP 11 because he had no point to prove. But there's another 11 that could start getting formed about players who have no point to prove at all, who are playing with a free mind.
What I want to see is the difference between this tournament and the T20 World Cup, because this tournament or any T20 game is about playing without fear. If you carry your reputation to the batting crease and say, okay, let me play myself in, I am so-and-so, let me play myself in, then you're gone already because this game moves on so fast. And so someone like Venkatesh Iyer comes with no baggage. Because he's free in his mind, he's able to go and play shots like those. In the first half of the tournament, I do not think Shubman Gill was, because Shubman Gill had this great reputation. His coach, that other Kiwi guy as well, another Kiwi, had said, this kid is not only good enough to play for India, I foresee he will be captain of India. Now, suddenly this kid, Shubman Gill, is thinking, wow, man, the other day I'm on Instagram. Today, one of the great T20 players is telling me, so maybe he's just taken time to get rid of that and see how he looks when he plays with freedom. And that is why I think the PTP 11 will actually run the India 11 very close, because they might play with freedom. And I think there could be another day when Kolkata could be 108 all out. But in playing like that, they will win more days than they will lose.
Yeah, just to refresh all our viewers, in case they're wondering why we are talking in these acronyms here. Yesterday, we were having a little chat about someone like Deepak Chahar with his performance. We'll be just sending a message saying, guys, I'm here. This is what I can do. And so we decided to try and start this trend of a point to prove 11 who will push the Indian team who have been selected for the T20 World Cup. And if you have that kind of bench strength, nothing like it. But Dooley, 2 debutants in this game. I think what Harsha mentioned about Venkatesh Iyer playing with a free mind, very different from, say, a Shrikar Bharat, who did seem to have a bit on his mind as he came to play a little more circumspect.
Yeah, a little bit. And each player and each coach and each sort of franchise will have a different philosophy around how they approach things. And you know, I know Brendan really well. We've all seen how Brendan plays the game. And he was very outspoken in the first half of the tournament about how he wanted his players to play. And so to me, that does take some time. It takes some time for those players to understand from a point of view, when you look at it, let's say an Indian player, a Shubman Gill, who is constantly under scrutiny from a billion people, cricket lovers around the world. It takes a little bit of time for him to understand Brendan McCullum's philosophy, and what Brendan is saying is actually gospel. You know, like it'll take him a little bit to say, Shreyas, you can have 6 failures, but at the end of the day, we play 14 games. If you win us 3 of those 14 games, you've done your job. You've done your job, because Andre Russell will win us 3. Lockie Ferguson will win us 2. You know, Owen Morgan might win us 2. And all of a sudden we got 8 wins. So don't be afraid to express yourself. Don't be afraid to play your shots, to go out there and play with freedom, because we will back you. We'll back you for 14 games. We're not going to back you for 2 and then leave you out for 2. And this is the theory around Brendan McCullum and around what I think some of these players in the second half might just start to understand. And that is a great way to play your cricket. It's a great way to be able to walk out there and just go, wow, I'm not going to be dropped. I'm not going to be judged. As long as I'm playing within my game and I'm taking options that suit my game, I won't be judged harshly upon this. And it's a very free way of playing, but you have to actually believe that that's the case. You can't say, well, in the back of your mind, what if it's not true? You can't have any doubts. And I think if they continue to play without doubt and play with that freedom, you'll see a pretty good side.
Comes back always. Yeah, always, Gautam. Whether you're in a T20 side, whether you're in a test match side, whether you're part of a television crew, whether you're in corporate somewhere, it's the air that you're breathing in the environment. If the he's telling you, I'll give you 10 games, but you go and do something stupid for 3 games in a row, he's going to have a word with you. If you're not following the game plan, if you're following the game plan and then something happens, that's fine. But is everyone pulling in the same direction? Yeah. That's something Bangalore. Oh, by the way, Bangalore. Which country does their coach come from? Bangalore?
Is he coach or is he just head of cricket? Huh? I think he's head of cricket.
No, but now he's coach. He's coach because the Aussie didn't come.
Oh, the Aussie.
He's the coach.
Yeah, well, that's the Aussies' fault. Yeah. That's not our fault, is it? I mean, how does that work?
I know, but all the Aussies, they're all taking inspiration from Mitchell Starc. But they're not turning up.
but interesting,
no,
Harsha,
that was just an aside. Yeah.
When Dooley was talking about Brendan McCullum's philosophy, and if I close my eyes for a second, I could almost think he's talking about Owen Morgan, the captain, because I remember having a chat with him the other day about England post 2015, the World Cup, and they changed their philosophy, they changed their thinking, and exactly what McCullum seems to be approaching is what Owen Morgan said to the English team. Go out there and do it. I'll back you. Even in a 50-over game, if we are dismissed in 42 overs for 330, I'm okay with it.
You know, in the old Hindu Guru Shishya Parampara, you know, there is the Guru sitting there and the students are sitting by his feet. And they're learning, the students by the feet. Brendan McCullum is the Guru and Owen Morgan is sitting by the feet. And this is an old relationship. Owen Morgan has openly admitted that his style of play, and he did it over 50 overs. I mean, let's be clear. Owen Morgan's England did it over 50 overs by playing bold, positive cricket and saying will be, doesn't matter if you lose the odd game.
Yeah, fair point that Harsha makes. But I think if you have this marriage then between McCullum and Owen Morgan, and obviously it should. I mean, you can't judge, the Bangalore bowling by a 92 run chase. But what you can judge is the approach of Kolkata. Let's say the next time they're chasing 200, they'll already have rehearsed this approach.
Yeah, and that's the key, isn't it? It's about that strategy of how you play the game. And that's kind of why I had the feeling that they would come out and be aggressive. I think that message is getting through. And, the one change at the top allowed that message to be a little freer for a guy who hasn't had an opportunity before. And we're seeing it time and time again we saw it with Devdutt Padikkal. At the start, you're free. And then there's expectation and things change a little bit. Ruturaj Gaikwad last night, there was a little bit of expectation at the start coming off COVID. He struggled, but they believe. And they believe these guys are good enough. And this is what, time and time again, this is what sets you up for the next level. This is the toughest domestic competition in the world. Hands down, bar none. You come out here, you prove it on this stage, you can prove it on the international stage as well. And it's that belief, that freedom. And every coach is different. And they're not all right. They're not all wrong. But as long as you believe in the philosophy and believe in the way that the team wants to play and you take hold of it, you won't get chastised. You won't get berated. You won't get hauled over the coals if you believe in the philosophy and you stick to it. And it's not about going, you still got to stay within your game plan and play the right shots or your shots. But if you do that, you'll be okay.
Now, before we have a look at the points table, just a reaction. I know we can't really judge them as a bowling attack, but going forward in the tournament, we weren't expecting to see Hasaranga and Chahal play together. They were thrown in, but on a pitch where you had the opposition. Well, since we've seen let's go to it first. Kolkata, 7th place. They've jumped up now to 5th with a positive net run rate. And Bangalore, even though they're in 3rd, if it comes to a situation where they're stuck on 10 points for a bit, they'll start getting worried.
Yeah, 6 games left for Kolkata. They need 4 wins. You'd think 4 wins out of 6. But that side tonight is capable of that. And that's the key. And all of these sides, Hyderabad, they'll turn up. At some stage, they will turn up. Punjab tomorrow against Rajasthan. Someone's all of a sudden going to be on 8 points and fighting it out with Mumbai. So it's tight. It is tight. Chennai were brilliant last night. They've got a great net run rate. You'd think with Chennai, they're 1 win away from qualifying. Maybe, even if they only have 1 win, they'd possibly finish 4th anyway. They're 2 to 3 wins away from qualifying, very close to that 1-2 spot. So it's almost now where you want one side to just take off. You kind of want, with the other teams, you want Chennai to just take off and keep winning, and then you sort of scrap and fight for those last 3 spots.
Yeah, that's what we're looking at, Harsha. But obviously, I think you were alluding yesterday to it, of how one team starts supporting another team, and that's what starts happening at this stage of the tournament. Now, everyone will be wanting Chennai and Delhi to start losing teams at the bottom so that the table can really get bunched up.
Either that, or they'll want 2 teams to run away and say, okay, you run away and we'll fight 3 and 4. So we want 3 and 4 to keep losing, because if 1 and 2 lose, they might still be beyond reach because they've won so many already. So they'll probably want 3 and 4 to keep losing. And today's winner said the cat among the pigeons, to be honest. And so I'd love to see how Bangalore come out of this. Do Bangalore come out of this saying, bad day, we just forget? We just forget we are a far better side than this? Or are there going to be wounds? Is Jamieson going to say, hang on these tracks, are these fellows going to come and charge me? Is Hasaranga going to say, oh my God, is this what this tournament is about? First ball dismissal and 2 overs for plenty. So are there going to be doubts in their minds? That's something that Bangalore will have to address. But as I've always said, it's all part of the experience of being a Bangalore fan. It's a roller coaster. It's the ultimate roller coaster, being a Bangalore fan. So they know what it is to see AB perform unbelievable things or whatever. And they know what this is as well. So there'll always be, it's a bit like that in Mumbai also, but Bangalore fan experience is different.
Apparently the Bangalore scriptwriter got stuck in their traffic jam because this was meant to be a bit of a fairy tale. You've got a new Hasaranga coming in there. Kohli's 200th game. He's just announced that he's going to be with the franchise, but no longer captain at the end of the season. So it was crying out for Kohli to be 75, Bangalore to put 180 on the board, win the game, but no fairy tales there. And that's how the result has ended. But
I just wonder, just a quick one. I just wonder, having made the announcement yesterday, Julie, I just wonder if Kohli is standing up there saying, what have I got into again, man? There's a fielder at mid-wicket. The ball's gone straight to him through his legs for 4. Yeah, I'm setting a field on one side and my bowler's bowling somewhere else. I just hope, it needs to happen, let's be honest, but I just hope if they lose another, he doesn't start to think, here we go again.
Yeah, I mean, it's time for that team to rally around him. We want it to be a fairy tale ending. If it's not a fairy tale ending, at least playoffs, at least go down fighting and fight for a guy who has fought for a franchise for a long, long time. And in all honesty, he's been the stand-up, the poster boy, the pillar of that franchise. So you'd hope that those guys around him are willing to fight and do everything they possibly can to hope that it ends on a high note for him.
Yeah, well, I mean, don't despair. We're not writing them off by any means. It's just one loss, just because it's a severe loss. They've still done enough in that first half of this tournament to be up there. They're in third place. Yeah. They'll hope that the net run rate does not come into the equation. But in other news from around the world, once again, disappointment for our folks from across the border, brothers from across the border who've just heard that ECB have pulled out of the upcoming tours. The women's and men's tours have been called off. Now, Simon, you've spent time there. Harsha, you spent a bit of time with Ramiz Raja as a commentator. Now he's got elevated to a different position. It doesn't really augur well for Pakistan cricket, just as they were trying to put the pieces together.
It's tough.
Yeah.
Sorry, you go.
Doull, you finish. No, Doull, you finish. You finish.
Yeah.
Because
it's a tough situation, and I completely understand where New Zealand have come from. The intelligence that they got was very credible, according to them, and you cannot ignore it. You cannot ignore those things when they happen. I feel for Pakistan. I feel for the fans of Pakistan. I feel for Ramiz Raja, for Imran Khan, for all of the hierarchy in Pakistan cricket. The issue around the transparency of the decision, I think, that was my only issue with it. Should that intelligence have been shared? Should there have been some dialogue around it? I kind of feel there should have. But again, I don't know the ins and outs of how that all works. But I do know that the New Zealand the New Zealand report, the report that came in, was from a US, UK, Australian agency that a lot of the countries use. They say was very credible. And so therefore, New Zealand made the absolute right decision. I just worry about the transparency. And that's what I think Pakistan are worried about as well. How do we move forward? How do we improve? How do we get cricket back in this country like we have done and gone through a lot of trouble to get back into this country for the last year and a half? And remember, 5 teams have toured. Things have changed in the area in the last month and a half, 2 months. I understand that. But 5 teams have toured without issue. I was there. I had no issue at the start of the year when I was in Pakistan. But it's a very individual thing. And these things do crop up on a daily basis. And different intelligence comes at different times. How do they move forward without knowing what the intelligence was and without having any information? I think that's very difficult from a Pakistan point of view. What New Zealand cricket did and what the New Zealand government did, 100% behind and absolutely agree with. Player safety is paramount, absolutely paramount. But as soon as New Zealand pulled out, there was no way England were ever going to go because they use the exact same intelligence agencies. So it was never, ever going to go ahead, as far as I'm concerned.
No doubt in my mind at all that England were not going to go. The moment New Zealand withdrew, England were going to withdraw. My only submission to Dooley is we understand this game, some better than the others, but we don't understand the world of international of all that goes with tours and sharing international security. So I don't know if it was shareable information, but if I was a Pakistan fan, yes, I would be asking exactly that question. Say, please tell us, because we've gone out of the way to make you feel safe. Please tell us what it is. We'll tell you if it's credible or no. But Dooley's point about it being changing from person to person is valid. Some people are more adventurous. Some people are more insecure. And you cannot be in that environment. So I can understand what New Zealand did. But just remember one thing. Sometimes in our countries, and that's something that Dooley doesn't have to experience, in our countries, everything gets clothed in rhetoric. So we take our position first and then start to search for something that will justify our position. Yeah. All I want to tell people is, from what I've met, the Pakistani cricket fan is absolutely the same, is no different from any cricket fan in the world. He or she, increasingly she, has waited 10 years to watch home cricket. And then it started to come in. But the crucial thing was not going to be Zimbabwe or Sri Lanka or Bangladesh. The crucial thing was going to be, one, New Zealand, because of what happened on an earlier tour there. I don't know if Dooley was around that tour.
I wasn't there then, but I've talked to guys that were, and their memories are pretty horrendous.
Now, Australia, England, both of them were due to go. There was Australia due to go to Pakistan as well later in the year. So now all that is gone, and suddenly Pakistan are back to thinking, where is our next cricket going to come from? Are the players going to come in and play the PSL? That I don't think, that is an individual decision, not a country to country, government to government, team to team decision. That's up to each individual to assess risks and go. But they will start to worry about that, because the PSL coming to Pakistan was just unbelievable for the fan there. The fan there wanted to say, look, we have our own thing. You know, you've got the IPL, we've got our PSL. It was a matter of great pride for them. Now, we have to wonder if that gets affected. All I will say in the end is, we all say don't mix politics and sport. It is impossible. Because sport is such a mass activity, because sport plays with people's emotions, sport will never, ever get completely independent of the political situation around. We've seen that with the Olympics, 80, 84, the Soviet bloc pulled out 1 year, the NATO countries pulled out 1 year. So till such time as there are a political situation develops there, we're all sitting here. We can talk cricket, but we'll all be in the dark.
Yeah, it's pretty much something you could go back to Munich in 1972, when if you were a political correspondent, you'd be just as qualified to cover it as a sports correspondent.
Just one final thing. Sport is an easy target. Because when you hit sport, suddenly it travels around the world. Everyone sits up and takes notice. You hit a business, it happens all the time. You know, there's so many times you hit a business, you ban businesses from doing things. China, there's an upheaval in business going on at the moment. Suddenly India might say, we're not going to allow there were some Chinese products not allowed in India. Businesses can recover and whatever. Sport is an easy and very visible target.
And hence a tougher job for commentator turned PCB boss. Let's see his reaction to it. I mean, imagine he must be thinking right now, can I quickly sneak back into the commentary box? It was so much easier. But this is what he said. Disappointed with England pulling out of their commitment and failing a member of their cricket fraternity when it needed it most. A wake-up call for the Pakistan team to become the best team in the world, for teams to line up to play them without making excuses. Now, Harsha, maybe his second statement is coming a little bit more from the heart, because I don't think anyone doubts Pakistan's quality as a team. But, you know, it's as you said, it's far bigger than that.
And they needed these games. Apart from the political aspect, they needed these games to prepare for the T20 World Cup. Look, we have in the world of international media at the moment, we get a lot of news that algorithms believe you want to see. And so you don't always know exactly what is happening in Afghanistan. We've got an idea of what is happening in Afghanistan, but we are hearing it through a certain prism. We have no idea how that impacts Pakistan, whether the borders are porous, whether security means. We are not experts, so we're not in a position to talk about that. But if there's a New Zealand player who's feeling insecure, yes, this is a long way back up now for Pakistan from that point of view, not as a cricket team, but from the point of view of getting to play there again.
Well, that's as far as that particular pullout is concerned. But let's come back to the tournament here that has started off on a rather dramatic note. We saw what happened on day one. Day two has seen a low-scoring finish, a runaway victory for a team in 7th place, desperate to find their way up, and they have, to 5th place. Now, before we look ahead, let's try and look back at the question that was posed by our quiz guru. Yesterday, it was an absolute stinger. Today, maybe a bit like the surface, a little bit easier to get the run chase going. Zaheer Khan for MS Dhoni, Amit Mishra for Rohit Sharma. Who is it for Virat Kohli? Is it a bowler? What was the connection? Let's give you the answer first. And the answer to the question is that it was not a bowler in his side, but someone in the opposition. Sandeep Sharma dismissed him 7 times in this tournament. Zaheer for Dhoni 7 times. Mishra 7 times for Rohit. And let's see who spotted that particular... Not again. 2 out of 2. We've got to do something about the questions. Tanmoy's got 2 out of 2. Yesterday was a tough one. Today, relatively easier in terms of numbers. But let's see how we can find a way to keep it out of his hitting area. Without going too wide, Joy, here's advice for you. Get it out of Tanmoy's hitting zone without going outside the wide line. Challenge for you.
We don't know what Tanmoy's strong zone is, though, do we? Is he down the ground? He might like wide of off. He might like wide of off. So what do we do? Joy, a Yorker is always a good option.
I would recommend that Joy post the question in Telugu. Maybe Tanmoy won't be able to read it and won't understand it.
There's a good one. But lots of languages spoken across this tournament, and 2 more teams from different parts of the country will be competing for the next game. All the way from up north, and then we've got the western hemisphere, as it were, from the country. Rajasthan against Punjab, match number 32. We go back to Dubai for this particular game. They'll all, of course, been keeping their eyes on the first 2 matches. But purely in terms of momentum, Harsha, let's start with Punjab. Let's start with the team from up north. We've gone through the phases up north in terms of they've had 5 games on the trot, 5 wins, 5 losses. How do you see their mindset coming into this particular game?
I'm looking at Punjab. 1-3 lost 5, right, out of 8 games. So they've got 6 games to play, Punjab, and they've got to win 5 out of 6. Sometimes you can get away with 4 out of 6. They cannot afford to lose this game. Now, they've saved a lot of money for a start because all their expensive Aussie bowlers have not turned up. So they've saved a lot of money with Riley Meredith and Jai Richardson. Nathan Ellis, I've not seen Nathan Ellis bowl, but I've heard a lot about Nathan Ellis. But I'm looking at that team and I'm saying, okay, Chris Gayle, Mayank Agarwal and KL Rahul. Maybe Pooran, the CPL player, might turn up and not Pooran, the IPL player, because he's got 28 in 6 innings, the guy who plays and everyone talks about as being this fancy player. But what are they going to do with their bowling? So Mohammad Shami, go on. Then?
Whoa.
Yeah.
You're struggling a little bit already. Adil Rashid, but will Adil Rashid play? Because you want your 4 overseas players. You'll play Chris Gayle, you'll play Nicholas Pooran. Now, who are you going to play? Because after 4, the batting just sort of goes off somewhere. So this is a side that I think is a bit unbalanced, and they'll need their top 3 to really do well and put those runs on the board. But exactly what happened in the first half might happen in the second. Because you're uncertain of the bowling and the tail, they might get a little too cautious early on. I want to see.
They're going to have to play Jordan, aren't they? They've got to play Jordan.
They have to play Jordan, correct. So are they going to play Jordan and Rashid? Jordan and Ellis or Fabian Allen to finish the
Fabian Allen has to play for mine. Fabian Allen has to play. He is an X-factor cricketer. To me, he's got to play. So, I mean, the 2 that have to play for mine as far as the overseas are concerned are Fabian Allen and Chris Jordan. And then you figure it out from there. Their batting depth is possibly better than their bowling depth. So you might, but do you go Adil Rashid and Ravi Bishnoi? Can you put those 2 together? There's no reason why possibly you can't. But then you have 3 spinners with Fabian Allen as your option as well. Ashdeep, Mohammad Shami, and Jordan as your seamers, and maybe 3 spin bowling options if that works as your 6 bowlers. And it's
just
a tough
put that
one.
up. Let's take a look again.
Yeah,
Because
let's have a look
Markram
at
can
that
give you a
squad
little bit of
again.
off spin too.
He can, yeah. I mean, Markram, Gale, Nicholas Puran. I mean, I'm a big fan of Nicholas Puran, but again, his form, his CPL form is always better than his IPL form. But he can be a match winner for you. So if you leave Chris Gale out and you go with Markram, Puran as your batters, Allen and Jordan, or do you leave Markram out and stick with your Indian batters and play Adil Rashid?
Well, I can tell you one thing, Harsha. 2 points on the two Caribbeans. One is Fabian Allen is coming off a win. He's part of the winning franchise. He's got that confidence he's coming with. But Nicholas Puran, even though his franchise didn't do as well as they normally do, he had the added responsibility of being captain. And I have a feeling interacting with him over these few weeks that it's changed him a little bit. It's given him more responsibility. And maybe he'll try and bring that CPL form into this tournament.
Could be, but they're up against a side that I think everyone talks about the absence of key players. I think there's a couple of very, very good players who've got into the Rajasthan side now, and who are not Indian players, but they are also point to prove players. And I'm just looking right at the top. Evan Lewis. If these tracks don't stop, the ball stops and comes. Evan Lewis struggled a little bit, but if he gets a true track to play, Evan Lewis in the form of his life, and everything I have heard and a little bit that I've seen of Liam Livingstone tells me that he's a special player. So you've got Evan Lewis, Liam Livingstone, Chris Morris. That's 3 places very well taken. If the tracks are like these, they might play Tabrez. They can play either Shamsi or Fiz. But if they get a really good track, they could go with O'Shea and Thomas and say, okay, let's see what happens. Because we've got a lot of Indian options with Unadkat, with Sakaria and Tyagi.
And Harsha, in all this, with all the quality you mentioned, Glenn Phillips will be banging that door down.
Yeah, but I think you'd want to play Evan Lewis ahead of him anyway. And then you've got Sanju Samson and Liam Livingstone. Yashasvi Jaiswal just hit off 80 of no time in a practice game. He's had a good season behind him. So, whatever there has been of it. So he doesn't fit into the top 4 there. And then maybe at 5 and 6, but you're taking away a bowler spot.
Well, the thing with that is I think Lewis and Phillips are a toss-up for me, because I think they've got enough power at the top of the order to leave Lewis out if they want to play Phillips in the middle. So they can go with a Jaiswal, they can go with Sanju, they can go with their Indian talent at the top, Riyan Parag, go that way around and play Phillips in the middle if they want. Brilliant fielder, assists, that side of things. Or they leave Phillips out and go with Evan Lewis at the top. But I think they've got decent Indian batting power. And then you throw Liam Livingstone in that mix as well. To me, in that top sort of 3, he's probably got about 3, I think, Livingstone.
Or maybe
3,
4 if
4.
Sanju bats 3.
If Sanju bats 3,
maybe 4.
Yeah, so that's an interesting one. And then that brings Mustafizur, I think, who probably needs to play in that lineup. But the problem there is it gives you 3 left armers then. If you go with Chetan Sakaria and Unadkat and the Fizz, then you've got 3 left armers. Do you want 3 left armers? So those are the little problems that Rajasthan have to work out along the way. O'Shane Thomas looked fit. He looked healthy. He looked good in the Caribbean League. He gives you that point of difference above 140, which may push him just in front of the Fizz, because you've already got the 2 left armers that take the ball away and bowl the cutters. So there's good variations for them there. I kind of think they've lost power in Butler. Ben Stokes has never really set the IPL alight. So I don't look at that and say, and this sounds really harsh, but I don't look at Ben Stokes and say he's a huge loss from an IPL point of view, because we know the immense talent he is at international cricket, but he hasn't really bought it in the IPL. So I don't look at that as an enormous loss. I look at Butler as a big loss and Archer.
Fair enough. But I think one thing we can say in conclusion, I think we almost said it at the start, is you can rename this, in our context, this particular Rajasthan team as a PTP 11 pretty much. Because whether it's Indian players or overseas players, they've all got to send a message to somebody.
Yeah, I'd like to see a couple of other players stand up. If you put that Rajasthan side up again, we've been seeing them playing bit roles for a while, This is the opportunity for someone like a Riyan Parag. We've seen Riyan Parag for a while. This is an opportunity for someone like a Parag to stand up, and for Shivam Dube, because there's a lot of hype around Shivam Dube. He's been bought for a very decent price. If Dube can play that role at 6, see what it does to that side. If he can give you 2 overs and batting at 6, you've got Morris and Tewatia afterwards. That's already about 7-8 overs there. And then you've got freedom. You don't 9, 10, 11. You can just pick the 3 best bowlers that you want, whether it's Shamsi or Fiz or O'Shane.
I was going to say, we've gone through a whole Rajasthan chat. We haven't mentioned Tewatia.
Tewatia, yes. Tewatia will play. Tewatia was picked in the Indian side, left out on fitness grounds. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Failed that yo-yo test.
Well, there you have it.
Go up and down? It's not that hard, is it? The yo-yo?
There you go. So that's these two teams are going to be competing. I think it's worth looking at one final time at the points table in context of these two teams. We saw it earlier with regard to Kolkata and Bangalore, but where do Punjab and Rajasthan stand? Well, there you are. They are under Kolkata, who are in 7th place. One of them will go to 8 points, and that's why they'll be so desperate. This will be such a competitive game. One of them will get to 8 points and will climb next to or above Mumbai, depending on the net run rate. So lots to play for between Punjab and Rajasthan on terrific Tuesday. But
I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. Look at Rajasthan. They're plus 0.19. Rajasthan are telling themselves, you know what, everyone writes as, oh, we're only Rajasthan. We win tomorrow, we are going up into the top 4. So much to play for.
Absolutely, so much to play for, and so much for all of you to play for. If you like what we do here on Cricbuzz Live, you'll love it even more if you join us and get a little bit extra and subscribe to Cricbuzz Plus. There's lots there. Interviews, statistics, numbers, articles, videos, lots and lots of bonus items. But we'll keep this going. Our journey will continue. Thank you, Harsha. Thank you to Simon Doull. And thank you all for joining us. This has been another slightly shorter but fun day of cricket on Cricbuzz Live, brought to you in association with our fantasy partner, My 11 Circle.